So a lot of folks actually were asking good questions that are actually helpful for us. And Stefan, you're a legend. I really appreciate you, and I feel your struggles. And just to tell you a little bit more, we know these struggles of users, and we are actively working on our dashboard. So something new might be coming soon. So just keep an eye on that. That could be more intuitive for you in the nearest future. So, however, let's actually cover the actual steps of how to get to the starter point. Yeah, the prerequisites for this one was the license key, and this was you can get those in the dashboard. So this is how it looks. Unfortunately, I cannot press the manage button because this will expose my license key. But if you press this button, you will see your license key for the specific features, and the separate one for the CK box, which you basically need a development token URL in order to get access to CK box feature for images, for example, or collaborative editing, comments, and stuff like that. So, but let's get back to the builder itself. So this was the first screen of the builder. I'm pretty sure it was not stressful, but if it was, that's totally fine. It's new to you, nothing wrong with you. So if you press the feature rich editor, you already can see the real-time output with interactable plugins. You can actually press those. You can see those in action. You can modify the text and actually see like what is useful, what is missing. And if you're good, you press continue, and you can see already the list of features that are pre-selected by the preset. However, it doesn't limit you from actually selecting more features if you feel so. So yeah, in addition to that, we will also cover later on how to add features manually if you got to that step. But yeah, on this stage, you can actually have like pre-selected features, but also you can add extra features if you feel so, if you want to mess around with other features that are not included in the preset. However, if you're cool with the feature list, you can go into the next step where you can specify the behavior of the toolbar itself, the top part of your editor, basically where all of the functional elements live. So yeah. By default, you can see that the wrapped option is pre-selected. That's because we have quite some plugins, and it could be stressful and confusing. So if you deselect that, you can see that it becomes bigger, so everything is listed at the same time. Nothing is collapsed. And at this specific view, this is fine, but it could be could look a little bit out of control if you have too many plugins, which is confusing. This is why this feature is pre-selected by default as like a safe option for you for scalability purposes. And also the menu bar is selected, so you can actually see regular stuff that you are familiar with if you open the Google Docs at least once. So you are familiar with these buttons. These are actually helpful, and these are actually pre-selected by the preset as well. So if you're good with that, you didn't have to modify anything here. This is actually pre-selected with the preset itself. And as the final step, you had to pre-select the technology of yours, which is Vue, obviously, in our case, self-hosted option, and download a project. So download a project gives you a zip folder with actual code already pre-written. The only thing that is missing, the npm packages. So you basically had to do the npm install command from your terminal, but I will mention that in a minute. Alternatively, you were able to actually do that manually, which is a little bit longer, but you actually understand every single moving part of the setup, so you can understand what is the whole scope of the code that is needed for CKEditor to function. So let's actually change the screen. I will stop presenting the browser and we can, but I need to wait. Yep, all good. Okay, I can see that the code editor is there. So this is the setup you most likely have. I mean, sorry, not most likely. If you selected the preset as I did, you have the exact same code, like nothing is different from yours. The only thing that I moved the keys to a separated file where I just re-export the constant variables with API key, token URL, and stuff like that. So again, for the purpose of not exposing that, but I didn't overthink it. I didn't make like a proper, safe, secure solution, just like a quick proof of concept. So, however, let's actually review the code. So at the top, we have templates, just nothing from your side it was needed here. It's already predefined, pre-configured, and you just accept it, just ignore it, and keep it as is. Next, we have the imports part. Basically, first we see the imports of the free plugins that you can actually use without the license key. So like if you don't want to actually go through this difficult process of obtaining the license key and stuff like that, you can actually complete the full setup, the full editor, and have the full editor experience without the license key, only with the free features. However, for like a real fancy experience, we also included some fancy premium features like AI assistant, comments, export to PDF, and stuff like that. So for that, you obviously need a license key. So if you have imported the premium plugins and also have connected this stuff to your editor, you will not be able to use editor without the license key. This is why it was important as a prerequisite, as I mentioned in the instructions of my exercise. However, there is an option to actually have a proper setup without premium plugins and without the license key. Yeah, as you can see, this is my exported variables here. So for you in your out-of-the-box setup, you have just the constant variables declared in this specific part. So the next part is, I actually want to open my exercise to remind myself the actual steps, the order. Give me a sec. Yeah. So once you connect it all, once you change the default like empty string, sorry, not empty, it was like placeholder string to actual keys, we wanted to actually add the plugin manually because there is a quite popular use case for me at least, because sometimes I go through the builder phase and then I realize like, I missed a plugin, or oh, that's something cool because like I found it on a website or in the docs and decided to add it later on. So adding plugins manually is not that annoying as it might sound, because you basically need to import. And in the exercise, the first one we discussed about code block. Yes, I'm not wrong. So this is the plugin we imported first. So you just basically declare from the import list, from the free package or premium package, depending on which plugin you're importing. You can find all of that information in the documentation. It's marked by star icon if it's premium. If it's not, it's free to use, and you import it from the CKEditor 5 package. If the plugin is marked with the star icon, you import it from the premium features package. So once the plugin is imported, well, all we need to do is to add it to the toolbar, the items array for the toolbar, where you can specify it like this. And again, in the toolbar, we can actually logically group elements by straight line separator. I'm not sure if this is the right name of this symbol, but I said it. So you can actually logically group plugins depending on their functionality and depending on what you want to have in which specific order. So yeah, this is a little bit manual process. It's not automated, but it's very important, and it's in design because we want you to have like full control, because you can actually modify the order of the plugins, the way they're declared and stuff like that. And yeah, so you can actually manually declare the groups and with the straight line separator. As you can see, I have a code block nearly at the end of the toolbar. So in my specific case, the show not group, this Boolean variable is, it controls the behavior of the collapse button. Once you have it to true, you will see the full list of plugins. Once it's set it to false, obviously you have like 3-dot icon with like the collapsible element, and as soon as you press it, you see the extra plugins that don't fit in one row. So yeah, in my specific case, that would be the case that the code block plugin will not be present if you just open the editor, because it's going to be collapsed because of the amount of plugins. However, you can modify that behavior. So even if you selected the collapsible rept toolbar in the builder phase, you can actually change that behavior using that Boolean variable if you didn't like that for some reason. So like even if you have selected certain things in builder, it doesn't mean that you have to kind of, like redo the whole process to change the behavior of your editor. And yeah, you don't. So the toolbar array is one part of things. So the second part is plugins array itself. So here we add the import from the package. So at the top of our editor, at the top of our document, we imported the plugin from the CKEditor 5 package because it's a free plugin. And then we add this import to the array of plugins so it also functions. So yeah, so the toolbar array for the display purpose and the plugins array for the functionality purpose. So this is the important, so two important moving parts for the functionality point of view. But also there is a configuration point of view that I also mentioned that in the steps. So you were able to see the customization and configuration of a specific plugin. So that goes below the plugins array, and here you can see specific configurations for each plugin separately. So let's actually focus on the code block plugin, and here you can specify languages. So in the case of this specific plugin, you will have the small ribbon, or I don't know how to call this item, like the small ribbon thingy with the language specified. So this is handy when you're writing articles and you have, for example, like multiple code snippets with different languages and stuff like that. So this is the stuff that you can specify with this plugin. And the next part was the actually more fun, more interactable comments plugin, because comments is a very powerful and cool feature in CKEditor, and it allows you to work collaboratively. But in our case, we built a very simplified version of comments. So this simplified version was designed this way. I wrote it this way, so it just showcases the comments feature. However, you can actually do it real time with your other colleagues. So you will be able to tag them. You will be able to actually see their other. You will be able to see comments that are written by other people in real time. However, let's cover the simplified version of plugins just so you can get the feeling of this feature. So for comments, we had to actually import two things. First thing is users. Here it is. And also we had to import the comments itself. So this is a part of the premium features ecosystem. So it imports from a different package, as you can see. And yeah, you have to import two because users are important for the comments to function, because we need to kind of have like the author of the comment itself. So since the comments feature requires user management to identify who is commenting, we have to actually create an object of like data of who are these people. So we have to specify the ID and the name of each user for commenting purposes. And yes, we can also set the default one. So this is just when you will comment, if you have like the local setup and you got to this stage, you were able to actually see that your user, when you leave the comment, is Max Haddix, because we specified this. If you modify it to user 2, obviously the name would be different. And here we actually create like a little bit of a custom plugin. So this user integration plugin is created and needed to kind of define the behavior of the comment plugin. So basically, to use the name we specified right above the declaration of this custom plugin. So here we actually use the data from that, oops, apologies. Here we actually use the data from that app data object. And basically what we had to do, we had to actually set the user ID for the active user. So once you have that, once you have this custom plugin completed and created, all we had to do is to include everything in the array of plugins. So here you can see we have comments and comments archive at the top. I added it at the top, so it should be present for you in your editor setup. However, if you add it to the bottom, it would be in the collapsed part of the toolbar array. Sorry, not toolbar array, toolbar itself, because it's specified at the end, and it overflows one single line, so it goes into the collapsible part. And now we need to add the plugins, the appropriate plugins that we imported. So basically, if you remember correctly, users, comments, 2 plugins, and the one we created manually to set the active user. This one, users integration. So all we had to do is actually specify all of these plugins. Let me find those to be, just to prove my point. Yeah, users integration, and then we have comments. It should be above, right? And we have everything. Yes. So once you've done that, you were able to kind of select the specific line or symbol or whatever else or image, and you can actually add comments to your setup, to your editor, and you would be able to see these comments as like the selected text will be covered by yellow, will be colored into the yellow part, and as soon as you press it, you will be able to see the comment itself. So this is the comment feature, and you can also see that adding plugins manually is not as painful as it sounds compared to the builder. Obviously, builder simplifies that process, and you can just click, select the checkbox, and you add the plugin really fast without any additional actions required from your side. However, it's not that stressful and it's not that painful to actually add plugins manually as well. Yeah, and the next part is actually the bonus part, which is the AI assistant. So AI assistant is a really interesting feature because we provide two separate features inside the AI feature itself. So I will just explain it in a few minutes. So first, we had to do the same process as with previous plugins. We had to actually import the premium plugin. And we also had to import the adapter because each. So in order for AI feature to function, you need to also use an adapter. At the moment, we have 4 adapters, if I remember correctly. We can actually verify that in the documentation really fast because I'm not fully confident. There might be more or less, but if I remember correctly, it was 4. Let me really quickly check that just to confirm with myself, for myself. Assistant. Okay. Yes, I found it. So OpenAI, Azure, OpenAI, Amazon Bedrock. So we have these adapters available for you, so you can actually use it. For the sake of simplicity and popularity, I use the OpenAI adapter because that's the most popular one, I assume. But it doesn't mean that the other 2 are bad or anything like that. They're all great, but yeah, for the sake of simplicity, I just use this one. And yes, as with every single plugin that we mentioned before, we have to do exactly the same procedure. We have to add it to the toolbar array itself to visually have the button that you can actually click to see this feature functioning. And you have to import the plugins to the plugins array. So here you can see AI Assistant, one of the plugins that was mentioned, and OpenAI text adapter for the sake of functionality of this feature. So as soon as you imported it, you need to actually do some more stuff because AI requires you to have your auth token that you can get from the dashboard of the provider, which is OpenAI in my case. In the configuration below the plugins array, we need to specify the AI object. And here you can see, since I use the OpenAI adapter, I specify the request headers, which is the auth token itself, which I got from the OpenAI dashboard of mine. And I specify the request parameters, where I can specify model and max tokens. Also, make sure that the max tokens are following the rules, the allowed amount of tokens, and you can find that value in the OpenAI or any other documentation, depending on which adapter you're using. However, for this specific model, which is GPT 3.5 Turbo, the max amount of tokens is around 4K. So, but you can actually use different options if you use different models. And also, yeah, you can set the formatted option in order to visually format this for the sake of beautiful look. So it looks beautiful, and it's, yeah, actually formatted from the visual perspective. And that's the only required configuration. Obviously, you can configure it further, and there are a lot more options. But this is like the basic stuff for the plugin to function, so you can actually play around with it and see how you can benefit from the AI plugin itself. Yeah, in order to find more information about that, you can go to the documentation. I will probably share the link with event organizers, and they can send it to the chat so you can actually see how you can customize that and how you can actually configure the AI plugin for yourself, and what is allowed in terms of the plugin's functionality. So now I will change my screen back to the browser just to showcase the AI plugin, the code block plugin, and everything that we created and set it up manually. So let me share my browser once again. Okay, you should be able to see my browser. This is the documentation I just shared, and hopefully you already see it in the chat. So yeah, you can see the exact configuration of the plugin, what is possible, what is not. And as you can see, all of the premium features are marked with the star icon, so you can know from which package to import these plugins. However, let's navigate to the local version. Let me just verify that it's up and running. Yes, it is. Perfect. So now we can actually test the plugins that we configured and added manually. So if I select this specific text, I can just press the icon for the comment plugin and add some kind of comment. Press comment, and it stays here. And as you can see, Max Headaches, which is the specified user from our custom plugin, which is a wrapper for the sake of setting the active user, and the comments exact date, and that's the information that you get with the comments plugin. Obviously, once you set it up, the real-time collaboration, you can actually comment for other team members as well, your colleagues, which is really powerful and really important feature for a complete setup, for not like, for the sake of your experimentation, but actual bulletproof setup that you can use team-wise. So the next thing that we implemented was the code block plugin. And here you can see the configuration that we added manually, which is the language we specified. So if we add the JavaScript, you can see the ribbon thingy with the JavaScript being specified. If you include more things, obviously you will have more options in the drop down. In the drop down here, you will have more options depending on what is declared in your custom configuration. And yeah, as soon as you write the code, it's actually more formatted in a code style, so it makes more clean and more proper setup of yours for writing purposes. And the last thing that we included manually was actually the bonus step, which was the AI plugin. And here you can see the icon for the AI plugin, AI assistant. and you can actually use the exact same mechanics as you use with ChatGPT, for example. So I can ask, like, generate me a joke. I hope the size of the font is not too small. If it is, please let me know. However, you can see, hopefully you can see, I can actually just make sure I see it in any case. So now you can definitely see it, and you can actually see that the joke was generated for me. And if I press the insert, it actually adds it to the text. So it's really useful, especially if you're writing, so you can actually use the prompt in order to generate some specific part of text, and you can immediately include it into your article or whatever you're writing. However, this is not the only thing that comes available with the AI plugin. So if you select the text, and you press this icon, which is right next to the one we pressed before, you can actually use a lot of preset. You can use the preset of specific prompts and specific AI functions. So you can see that you can improve writing, make shorter, make longer, simplify language, and stuff like that, which is highly useful and very important to have to make the process less painful for you in terms of writing. This is basically how I use AI feature. Basically, if you want to do something in a fast way and you already know that you can trust AI to do that, it's safe to press any of those options and it will do its magic. So I can actually use this this set of pre-built commands out of the box. However, yeah, you can also add custom stuff and you can modify the configuration for yourself if you are not satisfied with the list that comes available out of the box. So that was mostly it that we did manually. So if you were able to get to this point that you can see on my screen now, great job, you're amazing. If you didn't, you're still amazing. There's nothing wrong with you, and you have your license key for 30 days. So you basically have more chance later on to kind of complete this setup to see how it actually works and what you missed or what was unclear for you. And also, just to mention, don't hesitate to reach me out on Twitter, Discord, or whatever else, or wherever else, if you want me to support you, even outside of the scope of this event. I'm always happy to support you and help you just to make sure you completed the exercise and had fun. So I lost the train of thought of mine. So I think we covered everything. So this is the setup you were going to have.
We have questions.
Oh, we do. Perfect. Yeah, that saves me because my brain just shut it out.
All good. So I know it's a lot. It's a lot. So and yes, thank you for reminding everyone that it's no guarantee that we're going to finish these projects. It's a great learning opportunity. It's great to see you and CKEd again, Vadim. This can come in handy to utilize spreadsheets, I hope.
Yes. And also, if you are about to use our premium plugins, which is export to PDF and export to Word, you can actually move it to the next level as well. So the short answer is yes. The long answer is yes, 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 with additional plugins and with like a lot of fancy stuff. So correct. I agree with you.
Sweet. Yay. And next question. What are some other features of CKEditor that we didn't use during the exercise that are interesting?
Whew, this is a good one, actually, because there are plenty of features. As I mentioned in my talk on Tuesday, there are over 100 plugins. So there are a lot of features. So it's difficult to pick one specific. I would say the interesting area to explore is the real-time collaboration, because that actually shows you how editor shines, because like it's less primitive features. It actually is a really fancy experience when you are able to, I don't know, create something even for yourself, for example, with your partner, a recipe app, when you can both kind of, like create something more interactable and more like real-time experience. So there are plenty of use cases for that feature, but I would say that you should definitely try it out because that's interesting, fun, and it just shows the real power of editor.
Great, thank you. All right, a couple more questions do you have any recommendations for making rich comments that are more than plain text?
Yes, basically, one of the things, first things that come to my mind is actually mentions. So you can actually mention other people. Again, that refers to the real-time collaboration feature. So you can mention other users. But yes, if you implement mentions, you can mention other users inside your comments, which is a next level for the comment itself.
Awesome. And last question, what are some other use cases for CKEditor besides building a Google Docs clone?
I mean, the sky is the limit. But just to be more specific, I can identify some use cases that I find personally useful for myself. For example, invoice generator. And we actually have an article about that. If you go to our blog, you can actually read how to create this setup. I wrote this article some time ago, but it's still relevant. So you will be able to follow this article and get the invoice generator for yourself. Alternatively, it could be Notion alternative, just, like more simple, more clean setup, just, like for a more modern look. Recipe app, as I mentioned before, and many, many, many others. So, but in general, the main key area of focus of the product is the writing experience. So anything that requires writing, like knowledge base, or just, some kind of planning or reporting or document generation, that is possible with CKEditor.
Great, thank you. That is the end of our questions today. So thank you, Vadim, for joining us again today.
I appreciate having you. Thanks for having me, and I'm really excited to get back. So, if you like my content, if you like spending time with me, I'm really excited for the future events. So let's stay in touch.